Sourdough Sam.
No, Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Sourdeath Sam.
Disrespect to Sourdeath Sam will not continue.
Yo, what the fuck is up? Let's go. Let's go. Look, guys, not a lot to be proud of this week. I'm just going to come out and say it. Things have been better in my years as a 49ers fan. Obviously, not what we were looking for when it came to this much anticipated matchup against the Chiefs. We wanted revenge. We wanted vindication. We wanted to feel alive. And what we got was an 18-23 loss in which we were outmatched in damn near every single way. And now we are in a state of existential crisis, which is honestly, in some ways, it sort of feels like home to be there as a 49ers fan. But nonetheless, it doesn't always feel comfortable, even though it is home. One thing I will say is that we have an upcoming matchup against the Cowboys. That's going to be very, very, very important, obviously, but it feels very, very evenly matched in some ways. I would say it feels evenly matched in the sense that we're both in similar places in our division. We're both in similar places with respect to how each respective fan base feels as though their team is underperforming. And it's going to be very, very, very interesting to see how this game pans out, because at the end of this one is the bye week, and right after that is the trade deadline. So get ready, buckle up, motherfuckers, because we are going on a wild ride. All right, well, there's one person we can talk to. He's been a very, very hot topic in the conversations that have been had in the wake of this 18-23 loss against the Chiefs. Let's bring in number one most wanted man in the Bay Area in the worst way possible, Kyle 5000. Kyle, man, tough loss, brother. Need to talk, man. How are you doing? What the fuck happened? What's going on, brother?
Yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie. Shit is pretty fucked up right now. Ayuk out for the season. Brock Purdy playing as though he's stepping into the offense for the first time ever. And now I've got Dr. fucking John York sniffing around our practices like a vulture, like he's going to blow up the whole operation. So, yeah, things aren't going great after that Chiefs loss, pal.
Yeah, John York showing up to practice is kind of an interesting wrinkle. He's sort of like the Grim Reaper, and anytime you see him, it's usually not a good sign for your job, or the team. But, you know, I say hang in there, Kyle. I know things are tough, but we kind of need you to be a fucking genius and all that shit. But I do have Javi Vega coming on the show today, friend of the show.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about that?
Javi Vega? That's a relief. If you had Grant Cohn on after all this shit, I would have blown my fucking brains out. Like, great choice with him. He's tough, but fair.
I think so too, man. Hey, I appreciate you. I know you're a busy guy trying to calculate your new playbook GPT, but you know, good luck. I don't even fucking know, man. You're struggling a little bit, but hopefully that'll come to pass. Kyle 5000, everyone, huh? He's going through a tough time right now. All right, going through a real tough time. Hey, listen. You know what I like to do when I'm sad? I like to fucking gamble, dude. Let's talk sports. Betting. That's right. Sourdeath Sam's $5 pick'em. That's right, folks. Every week, I throw $5 into the trash can with my $5 pick'em. I stand the chance to win over 1,000, so you never know. I swear to God, when I win one of these, and I will, I'm going to come back acting so fucking brand new, you will not recognize me, dude. I will be a different person. But in the meantime, I'm still broke. So let's talk about who's on the table for this week. I have Justin Jefferson getting a first half rushing or receiving touchdown. Jamar Chase, I got him getting a touchdown. A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Alvin Kamara, George Kittle, who seems to be probably one of the most important offensive pieces in our offense this year. CeeDee Lamb, unfortunately that'd be against our team, but I'll roll the dice on that one. And Cortland Sutton. I got all these fools getting touchdowns. And guess what? If all of them do, I get over $1,000. In fact, on this one, I get over $1,600. Believe that. If you want a part of this action, if you want to join in on the fun, ladies and gentlemen, it's easy. bit.ly/Sourdeath Sam. That's bit.ly/Sourdeath Sam. Your first deposit matched in bonus cash up to $1,000. This isn't normal cash. This is bonus cash. This is cash that'll make you feel good because it's a bonus. And that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If I win, I promise you'll hear about it. If I don't, believe me, you will not until next week when I announce my next $5 pick'em. So if you want to in on this action, bit.ly/Sourdeath Sam. Everybody's losing, man. 49ers are losing. I'm losing. My fantasy football team, that's in the dumps. That's real bad. I don't even want to talk about that right now. I'm going to bring Javi Vega on very shortly. I got one more stupid fucking bit to drag you through, and then we are on to the next. Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk begrudgingly about alleged dogs of the day.
Big dog. Big dog. Dog of the day.
All right, so I have to announce a big dog of the day. I don't really have a choice. It didn't feel like there were too many big dogs in the house, but you got to announce a big dog every week. So let's find a big dog. My big dog was George Kittle. Quite frankly, I think George Kittle has been one of the most important ingredients to us being in any game this year for the most part. And in this game, 6 catches out of 7 targets, 92 yards, and a log of 41. Look, he's in an offense that's looking for a spark. If it's not Debo, it's him. And guess what? Obviously, Debo dealing with some shit. And that's tough because what this offense needs right now is a spark. We were lucky to get a little bit of a spark from Kittle, not enough to sort of light everything on fire, but hey, you got to take a big dog where you can get one. Sometimes you got a big dog and, it rains, the park isn't so fun. But there you go. There's your fucking big dog of the day. Right there.
Big dog. Big dog. Dog of the day.
All right. Let's just get to it. Let's bring on, who's the biggest dog? Who's the real big dog of the day? I'm about to bring him on right now. Javi Vega is a legend. Javi is a legend. I would listen to his podcast all the time. He has set so many people up who are now having amazing careers doing sports writing for the 49ers. He is in the center of everything. He's got his fingerprints on the Niner universe, and I can't wait to bring him on to share his thoughts about the Chiefs and the Cowboys game. Ladies and gentlemen, motherfucking Javi Vega, baby. What's up, brother?
What up? How you doing?
Doing good. I'm going to ask the chat if there's any echo. So far, so good for me. But, I've had about as many technical difficulties as the 49ers this year. So I'm just not going to leave it to chance. You sound good to me. I hope I sound good to you. Let's get this thing going, man. First of all, let's just dive right into our chief grief. Obviously, we went into this game with much higher aspirations as far as offensive performance, overall performance. I think we thought we were going to get a little bit of a revenge, I guess, or at least some opportunity to put up a good fight against the team that we knew thwarted what we wanted the most at the end of the season. I think we all knew collectively this was never going to be truly revenge. Like whoever won this game did not win the Super Bowl, and perhaps that's consolation now. But at the end of the day, did not turn out how we felt. Now you happened to be at that game physically in person, so I'm very curious to hear from you as someone who was immersed, steeped in that experience. Sort of what your takeaways from that game were.
Well, yeah, we went out there. I went out there, got the game with my boy David. It was as bad as it looked on TV. You convert 18% of your third downs. You lose Brandon Ayuk. Your defense can't get off the field on third down. You can't convert on third down on offense. Just they looked flat from the beginning of that game. They had chances in that game to steal one from Kansas City, right? Mahomes throws a stupid pick. Clea Davis gets that one. You get the 4th and 1 stop with the fake punt. You had opportunities to get into the game and keep it relatively close. I mean, granted, going into half or coming out of the half, you're 14-12 and you're in striking distance, but you can't convert. And Brock Purdy and this offense had no answers for them. And then on defense, they were just getting gouged up the middle, which goes back to the offseason decisions that they made as far as this run defense goes. It's a compounding issue that I feel that I've been watching the last year and a half with this team and their personnel decisions, and it's coming to head now, right? Like it's not so much coaching on defense; it's a lack of talent. It's not so much the offense not working; it's the lack of talent on the field too. So it's just a combination of a whole bunch of stuff there. At the game, you got people pissed off. You're sitting in there, you got a bunch of Chiefs fans talking shit, and you're just watching this offense just stumble and stumble and stumble. And, it comes into question, do you pay Brock Purdy $60 million? Because I have questions about the kid, and that's fair. I'm allowed to say those things. But when your offense struggles this much without one player, Christian McCaffrey, I'm going to call into question the quarterback and the head coach, right, in this case. Now, there's plays to be made. It goes back to personnel decisions, right? You're going to stick with McKivitz. You're going to stick with Jake Brendel as your offensive line, and you're going to have questions. Keep compounding. It's going to keep compounding until you get these things fixed. And you've had this model of a cheap quarterback, but you have all these weapons that are highly paid. It doesn't match, right? None of it's matching right now. They're so disoriented, they're disjointed. You can just feel it when you're there. Like you can see it through the TV on some of these losses when they lose to the Rams, they lose to the Cardinals, but in person, you can see it. Too many mistakes. You had those two penalties in a row in the red zone. Too many men on the field. Offsides by Bosa. Boom, Kansas City scores. You're just giving teams points. You're giving things away on a team that used to never do that. But I spoke about this on Twitter. I've spoken about it with people privately. It's like, but I've had this expectation going into the year. Like this is a normal lifespan of a team, right? So like I'll reference the Warriors, right? A lot of folks who watch the Niners are Warriors fans, right? You had this unreal run with the Warriors with all their talent and they're in their primes, and then slowly but surely they're doing this. They're ascending. They peak. And it comes back down because why? You got to pay players. Players get injured. Players get older. And then you have the attrition. It just keeps building up. Think about this 49ers roster over the last 5-6 years. They've done some churning. They've neglected the defensive line for the last couple drafts. They've been trying to patch holes with players that they missed on in the draft by going out and paying a Javon Hargrave. Now you go ahead and say, hey, Eric Armstead, we don't want you anymore. We're going to give you this bullshit offer. We know you're going to turn it down anyway, so let's do that. And then you gaslight us in this idea that Malik Collins is going to fill in this void. He's a decent player, but he's not Eric Armstead. The Texans were going to trade Malik Collins to the Niners for Eric Armstead and some other things from what I read. But once that fell through, they said, all right, cool, we're going to cut this guy. We're going to get Danielle Hunter. So you're telling me a cuttable player, Malik Collins, is going to come in and replace Eric Armstead. That doesn't make sense. Jordan Elliott, another guy from Detroit, Cleveland, he's a decent player, but he's not a pass rusher. He's hardly even a run defender, and you're seeing it week after week after week. You missed on I shouldn't say missed on, but you have injuries in the back end with Ufunga. He's not right. He was a slow player beforehand. tears his ACL. Now you're trying to replace him with a rookie, Jair Brown. I don't know what the hell is going on with this kid. He was fine at Penn State. He's just not grasping it in the NFL. Those are high picks. Or I'm sorry, it shouldn't even be high picks. You had your next pick after the Trey Lance draft. You were picking in the second and third round. You weren't even getting first round picks. So now you got Jair Brown in the third, trying to replace Jimmy Ward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you guys, but that's a hard guy to replace. There's so many things compounding on this team that their personnel decisions are affecting the play on the field. And I think that is the biggest issue here. It's not so much coaching, because good coaches look good with good players, right? Robert Saleh looked great in 2019 because you added Nick Bosa and D Ford and Quan Alexander, but they were running the same scheme 2 years prior with guys like Cassius Marsh and a young Fred Warner, and just misfit toys all over the place. Like there was just it's a cycle that the Niners are going to go through. The Rams just went through this. They won a Super Bowl. They were kind of in contention. They fell off. They had to retool. Now they're one of the younger teams in football. They're struggling. Okay, the Packers, they let Aaron Rodgers go. They rebuilt a little bit. They have a quarterback now. They're getting younger. Last year they got into the playoffs. No one expected that, but now they look better. This is the cycle you have to go through. If you have the quarterback and you believe Brock Purdy's your guy, then okay, cool. You're going to pay this guy, but now you have to replenish those draft picks that you've missed, and it's a compounding issue ever since the Trey Lance draft, right? Those are first round picks that you could have had to replenish this roster, so that way you're not overpaying guys like Javon Hargrave. That way you're not having to go out and trade for whoever the hell they might trade for in this trade cycle. Like these personnel decisions are what is hurting the team more so than the coaching, because we turn on the tape, the scheme looks fine. You just got guys that are not talented enough right now to live up to this high standard of defense that the Niners have been playing since 2019. It's the truth of the matter. Like Dre Greenlaw, think of it what you want. He's a top 10 linebacker in the league. You're missing him. Mm-hmm. You don't have Eric Armstead, who was probably a top 10 defensive tackle in the league. You're missing him. DJ Jones, before he left, was a guy that you can trust on pass downs and rush downs. You don't have those guys. Kalia Davis, nice player, but he's not doing anything for you. Jordan Elliott, nice player. He's not doing anything for you. Malik Collins, he's had some flashes here and there. Big deal. You have an aging Leonard Floyd, who had a really good game, granted, but before that, his last sack was against the Jets. Like they're not as talented as they once were, and I think fans are misconstruing what this team's expectations are because of that. Because they're like, oh yeah, cool, we're gonna be right back. We're the Niners. We've done this. We're gonna keep doing that. Yes, we were 3-5 2 years ago. We made it to the title game. This is a completely different roster. You have to retool this thing, and I think they were going to. Right, and maybe they weren't going to pay Brandon Ayuk. Maybe they were going to make a trade for Cortland Sutton. Maybe they were going to trade for Darius Slayton and get younger in that way or cheaper in that way, so that way they can go ahead and get other pieces. It's compounding. You're spending a lot of money on a bunch of players that right now aren't contributing to you. It's an unfortunate injury with Brandon Ayuk and Javon Hargrave, but that's a lot of money that's not on the field, and you're expecting this team to sustain success. So that's a long rant, but it's just there's so much in there.
No, you were cooking.
You can just break it down. And I haven't done this in a while, so I got a lot of stuff to say. But it's just,
yes, sir.
The timeline in Twitter is all, hey, Nick Sorensen sucks, and this and that. He might stink, but you won't know until you get your roster intact, and this roster is jacked up, right? You potentially get Dre Greenlaw back, but that's an Achilles injury on a guy who relies on his speed and is back and forth, his change of direction. You're going to ask him to come back after being off almost a whole year. There's literally one Achilles that's working between those two guys with CMC and Dre Greenlaw. So, yes, maybe they get injected into this team and things turn around, but I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, they're going to get there. But this team is still good enough, and Kyle Shanahan is good enough to get them to 10 wins based on the rest of the season. The way this schedule shakes out, you got Dallas, you got the bye week, you got Tampa, Seattle. You can come out of that 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
6-4. Excuse me. You can come out of that 6-4, and then the back half you have Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, Rams, Miami, Detroit, Arizona. There's very winnable games down the stretch. This team could still get to 10 wins, win the division, get in the playoffs, and then I'm not betting against Kyle Shanahan in the playoffs. I'm just not.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely cook there. You're in so many ways, everything you're hitting on is such an overlap to sort of what my musings of their situation is. I mean, I think this Chiefs game, more than any other game, they looked so discombobulated. They just looked so disconnected. I have never seen Brock Purdy look like that in his entire career. Now, here's the thing. I'm not about to say, cut the kid, let's move on from the kid. It was the lowest passer rating he has had in his entire NFL career as a starter. The only time he had a passer rating lower than 36.7 was a game he did not start, but it was in 2022 against who else? The Kansas City Chiefs. Clearly, the Kansas City Chiefs know Kyle Shanahan's number. They know it front to back. They can get to him on no caller ID, no matter what. They're in his head, and it's so clear. And frankly, it's such a credit to Spagnuolo, and it's also such a terrifying prospect of like if they are the team in the Super Bowl. Is there anything we can do to circumvent this sort of? Kyle Shanahan is strapped more than any other receiver I've ever seen. Like Spagnuolo is on him like a glove, and he can't shake him, and it's so evident. In fact, it's beginning to show that there are more defensive coordinators than him that have a similar track record. So one of my concerns is, as we enter this, obviously we have the Cowboys next, then we enter the bye week, and then of course we have the trade deadline looming over us. And we just have had so many. There is a universe in which you could say, if I was the defendant here, I would say, well, hey, listen, CMC's injured. Ayuk was out doing, Ayuk was out making business decisions till he got his contract, and then he wasn't ready, and then he got injured. Debo obviously has kind of been in and out because he's also been hurt. We've got Dre Greenlaw, who probably would have helped us win the Super Bowl if he was still in. He's out. Huff is out, although when he was in, not a huge difference. You have a laundry list of injuries. Your kicker being out, that's a game you could have won if your kicker was in.
Oh yeah.
So you have a litany of circumstances in which you could point to and say, I understand your concern. However, if you circle all of this on the whiteboard, if none of these things happened, if you still had, Javon Hargrave on your team, our record would be better. These conversations wouldn't be happening, blah, blah, blah. Here's the problem, is that it feels like the only way the closest analogy I can think of is, I don't know if anyone here is a gambler, but if you've been to Vegas, just to even put a little money down on blackjack, put a little money down on this or that. Sometimes you go in and the luck just turns on you. You've got a 20, dealer hits 21. And you come in and you just keep striking out, but you feel like you're so close. And then the thing is that this Cowboys game is our last $5. And here's my fear. My fear is that maybe we're going to lose this game, maybe. And this trade deadline is like us going to the ATM, being like, oh, well, that's bullshit. I got to go pull more money out. You know what I mean? Oh, that, as soon as I pull this money out, my luck's going to turn around. Is it? Because what it feels like to me is this is just not our year. I'm generally a serial optimist. It's just kind of my nature. But I do not know if you get a wide receiver or you get an edge rusher, is it enough? Is it enough to overcome what seems just an endless supply of leaks from cracks that we didn't even know we had until they're exploited? At what stage do we understand that maybe this year is not going to be the one, and unfortunately this year may have been our last chance? Now, that's obviously not going to be a very popular stance if you're a general manager, especially if John York is coming down to take a vacation inside of your front office for the day on a fucking Wednesday, October 23rd. But it just, sometimes the truth hurts. And this upcoming game is going to be really important. But I'll tell you, this Chiefs game was really sobering. And I left a different person on the other side of it than I was coming in.
I think 49ers fans need to come to the realization that your team's just not as good as it used to be. And our team is not just as good as it used to be. Like it's a fair thing to say. Like we have to just sit here and acknowledge it. Like last year is last year. That was the year to get it done. You had it all. You had a MVP year from McCaffrey. You had an MVP year from Purdy. Nick Bosa played out of his mind. Fred Warner was probably top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. You had Charvarius Ward was balling. You had everything. And you just missed it. You missed your window. Now, I'm not saying the window is shut. That's something I don't think I'm going to say until this offseason, depending on what they do. But your window to win was last year, the last 2 years, actually, because you should have beat Philadelphia if Purdy doesn't get hurt, and you probably beat the Chiefs that year too. You could have gone back again in 2023, depending on what they did. Obviously, off seasons are different, but you had a strong enough roster to win it. Like what I'm saying is this stuff doesn't last forever. Like this idea that, oh yeah, we can win 4 in a row. Listen, you don't have Tom Brady and we don't have Patrick Mahomes. That's the difference between our team and those two teams specifically. You don't have the quarterback like those two guys. You know, I like Brock. I think he's a decent quarterback. Do I think he's a franchise guy? I don't know yet. But he's not those two. And those two guys can mask a whole bunch of stuff. Patrick Mahomes was throwing to me and Rich Madrid on Sunday. That's who he was throwing to. And he made it work. He's throwing to a shell of himself, Travis Kelce, and they made it work. Kareem Hunt, who's been in the league 7-8 years now, he was running down our throats. Like, it works because you have the quarterback. And you can get away with it because you have the quarterback. Xavier Worthy was non-existent. McCole Hardman, seriously, like these are the guys he's throwing to, and you're telling me that Brock Purdy, and again, this is not to shit on him, but Brock Purdy couldn't make plays to George Kittle, who's still in his prime, Brandon Ayuk before he got injured. You have two very, very talented, top 10 at their position players, and you couldn't get it done, regardless of the protection. Because if you look at the tape, there's guys open all over the place. He doesn't see it, or the protection fails. Like what the Chiefs did reminded me of what other teams did when Jimmy Garoppolo was here. They loaded up the box and they dared him to throw, and they took the middle of the field away. This is what it is. People need to start realizing it. Yes, Brock Purdy is a good quarterback. Is he an upgrade to Jimmy Garoppolo? Absolutely. But the thing what's going to happen is those limitations are going to appear with Brock Purdy every time. Yes, he underthrew Jacob Cowling. Yes, he underthrew George Kittle. Those are walk-in touchdowns most likely. Or even with the Cowling one's a walk-in touchdown if he hits it right. The Kittle one are probably inside the 20, maybe the 15. You have a better shot of scoring from there. He doesn't have this elite arm talent. What he does that's elite is processing. He's an elite processor. He's an elite scrambler of the football. He can move in the pocket, move outside the pocket. Those are his skills. It's not a bad thing to say he doesn't have an elite arm. He doesn't. He never has. And that's what you're going to need when these teams are going to start playing man-to-man against your wide receivers, which is also a myth that these guys can't get off man coverage because they were getting off man coverage all game long. Brandon Ayuk was all open most of the night. Kittle was open most of the night. There are throws to be made. He's not seeing it. He's either rushing or pressing, one of the two. And Spagnuolo confused him with some of these dialed up blitzes and these 6-man pressures. He confused them, and it happens. It is what it is. Coaches lose to other coaches. Like this idea that, Kyle Shanahan's not good enough because he can't beat Spagnuolo. And, I heard somebody's podcast today talking about, he's lost 6 straight to Andy Reid. Well, guess what? Sean McVay lost like fucking 7 games to Kyle Shanahan. Sean McVay is a Super Bowl winning head coach. Does that make him a bad head coach who lost to Kyle Shanahan? No. It just doesn't. Like this is – I'm sorry, I'm very frustrated with these.
I agree.
Some of these comments that I'm watching and I'm reading. I'm like, do we have a level of perspective, an ounce of perspective here? Sean McVay won a Super Bowl. By definition, he's a Super Bowl winning coach. Is he a bad coach because he gets his ass kicked by Kyle Shanahan all the time? The answer is no. Just because Kyle Shanahan loses to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, it does not make him a bad head coach. It does not make him incompetent. It does not make him anything but losing to a talented head coach and the best quarterback in football. It's not fucking hard to understand. These narratives that you read on Twitter or you go through these fucking blogs and Niners Nation and like, knock it the fuck off, dude. Like, now I'm getting mad because there's perspective that's missing in all this stuff, and this is why I've been wanting to podcast again. This is fucking insane.
Yes. So perfect transition. Here's my segment. True or false? Javi, true or false? Kyle Shanahan is on the hot seat.
Kyle Shanahan's seat is ice cold.
Ice cold. Ice cold.
Ice cold. Think about this. And let's be real here. The 49ers under Kyle Shanahan have been to 4 NFC title games. 4. They've been to 2 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. There's no other coach in the league that's done that except for Andy Reid. So you're going to fire the guy who's gotten you to the promised land, almost to the promised land, over what? Because he's lost 4 games in 7 weeks? Okay. You know this roster needs to be churned, Jed York. You know this roster needs to be churned, John York, because you tried to not pay Brandon Ayuk. Because you know you need to pay other people. You know you need to get younger. This is part of the process. Jed York loves those home playoff checks that he gets. You think he's going to give that up for some coach named Ben Johnson that everybody wants to fucking attach their name to? Ben Johnson? Do we even know if he's a good coach? I don't know. He has probably one of the best set of weapons in the NFL. Jameson Williamson, Amon St. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have Jahmyr Gibbs. You have David Montgomery. You have Sam Laporta. You have probably the best offensive line in football. Of course your fucking offense works. What are we talking about?
Yep.
What are we talking about? If you take away 3 of those pieces from the Lions, I guarantee you they're in the same situation as the Niners. Because Jared Goff is a dud. Okay? He needs to be protected. When he's protected, he's going to dice you up. The Niners get to him every time, and he fucks it up. He did it last year in the NFC title game. He's done it as a Ram. How many times did that happen? You have to have all the other pieces for this stuff to work. Yes, Kyle Shanahan's system is elite. It goes to another level when all his players are on the field. CMC took it to another level. Deebo Samuel changed the entirety of that offense for them for a while. Brandon Ayuk added another dimension. Oh, look, now there's Jawan Jennings, a 7th-round pick who got cut, brought him back, and now he's, top 10 in yards in the NFL, and he's missed a week. Like, what are we talking about, right? And I like to comment here, your play sucked, Jimmy G from J.D. Durham. Like, Jimmy Garoppolo, I remember the Chicago game. He almost got benched because Kyle was telling him, it's just simple shit. This is a simple offense, and players make it more complicated, and the other defenses make it a little more complicated. But this is part of the NFL. These other guys on the other teams get paid too. Like, that's the other part that gets lost in this. It's crazy. David Lombardi wears socks to bed. True or false? True.
True. Hella true. But that's my best friend, so I can't.
Sorry, I'm cooking. I'm cooking right now.
Yeah, I'll just jump in because I agree with you. I think this topic is reaching a fever pitch. I don't think my opinion carries any weight, but for what it's worth, I think Kyle Shanahan is not on the hot seat. I think they may have to ask him tough questions about what he wants out of this roster in the future as far as what it's going to look like, but I don't think he's going anywhere. If he's going anywhere, we would spend many years living to regret it. Many years. Because Kyle Shanahan, he's a young coach. He has got a lot of vengeance left in him. And I can promise you that we would be left with a coach way more likely than not who is incapable of reaching the heights that he can reach if he is put in the proper position. Obviously, some defensive coordinators have his number. Yeah, that fucking sucks. But sometimes that happens. And yes, does he need to start figuring out how to untangle himself from those webs? Yeah, he does. But guess what? He's a young coach. And if at a certain point he can find the opportunity to shut down this idea that they are forever his kryptonite, then I think he can further cement himself as the amazing play caller he is. In the meantime, he's had a string of unfortunate personnel situations. And you can call me a fanboy if you want. I just don't think it's a smart idea to get rid of him.
No, yeah, it's not even a topic of a discussion. I'll say this, like the Harbaugh era, and I love Jim, but there was no kumbaya with that. Like there's kumbaya here with Jed, John York, John Lynch, and Kyle Shanahan. Like you want to have a unit that is kumbaya for the most part, but with healthy healthy disagreement, right? You have to have that in business, right? Like I work in the business that I work in. Do I agree with everything that happens? No. But there's healthy disagreement. That's why we're so successful. This is what the Niners are. They're having healthy disagreements, right? We heard about this with the Trey Lance and Mac Jones and all the other shit. There's healthy disagreement on, do we pay this guy? Do we pay that guy? What do we need to do here? What's this? That's part of it. So this idea that Kyle's on the hot seat or he needs to be fired, like the alternative, yes. Could the alternative be the next guy wins a Super Bowl? Yeah, it's possible. But it's more likely than not that they're going to miss on the head coach. And do we truly trust Jed York to make a coaching hire? The answer is probably no.
I think he made the right decision this time, and I think that if he thinks he's going to have that kind of same success again, maybe John York is in his ear too much. So, because we could go on that all day.
Oh yeah.
But in the meantime, Kyle Shanahan needs some reinforcements. Mm-hmm. We should prioritize wide receiver over defensive end. True or false?
False. You still have Juwan Jennings. You have Deebo Samuel. You have Jacob Cowing, who is probably the best rookie wide receiver on this team. That's not a hot take. That's what I truly believe. And you have Ricky Pearsall. You have 4 receivers. You drafted one in the first round. You drafted Cowing in the 4th or 5th. Those guys have talent. They've shown some things, especially Cowing. He's shown you trust him as a punt returner. As much as special teams Kyle Shanahan hates, he trusts the kid to return punts. So it means he can catch the ball well. He had a humongous explosive play against the Chiefs. He had the really nice run against the screen. This guy has 4.38 speed. Utilize him, Kyle. Use him. Make it simple. Dumb it down in the offense. I understand that wide receivers in this offense always struggle the first 2 years. But guess what? You mean to tell me this kid doesn't know how to run a slant? He did that in college. You mean to tell me he can't run a dig? He did that in college. Okay, maybe he's not the best run blocker, but he's not blocking when he's out there catching a pass. Like, you don't have to have him in there for those reasons. He has the speed to get the jet sweeps. He has the speed to get the end arounds. Like, utilize him in that way. Ricky Pearsall, he's a bigger body, right? Can he be your possession receiver, right? Can he be your guy that's 3rd and 6 and you need a first down? Can he be the guy on first down, he gets you 6 yards? That's what you want to utilize him as. Get him in those positions and prosper. Like, it's not a thing that's going to happen right away. Like, this is part of it. You have to grow with these guys. Yes, you have Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. Those are your number 1 and number 2. But Ayuk's gone now, right? Deebo's your number 1. You have to decide if you're going to bump up Jennings to be your X or you're going to keep him in the slot. Are you going to put Cowling at the X or are you going to put Pearsall in the slot? Like, you have guys to rotate in here. And I don't understand this whole thing about, rookie wide receiver. Like, Guy Haberman probably did it the best. He was talking about the Chiefs specifically and how they've gotten about 73% of the snaps in the last 4 years from a rookie class. The Niners are less than half than that. They're like close to 40%. So you're missing on picks or you're not utilizing these picks. Like, does anyone want to talk about Sam Womack balling out in Indianapolis? How come he couldn't see the field here? What are we talking about? Right? Like, we have to have these conversations. Like, they're just because they're rookies, you draft these guys, develop them, get them on the field, let them play. Kyle Shanahan said it today in the press conference. The more reps these guys are going to get, the better they're going to get. Okay, cool. You said it. Now do it. I don't care what they say. Do it. Show me that you're going to get these guys on the field. Jacob Cowling needs to play at least 50% of the snaps on Sunday versus the Cowboys. Ricky Pearsall needs to be 75% of the snaps versus the Cowboys. This needs to happen if you're going to get the most out of this group and you're not having to pay them right now. They're on rookie deals. They're cheap talent, and you can replenish them after 4 years. But you need to maximize the 4 years that they're here. Play them now. This is your time to play them. You have a week against the Cowboys, who are terrible versus the run. Cool. Yep. Set up the run. Get your play action going. Get Cowling and Pearsall going against those cornerbacks who everyone swears they're that good, but they're really not. Like, you have to get these guys going. And George Kittle is probably your best weapon right now. Use George Kittle. He needs to have 10, 11 targets a game, period.
Completely agree. I mean, edge is such a critical component to whether or not we're going to find success this year. We need to also have insurance at edge because with the way our luck has been going, I don't feel confident that we have all the pieces we need if something were to go terribly wrong on that defensive line. So
what they need to do, though, and sorry to interrupt you,
No, go
they
ahead.
need to figure out a way to get a defensive tackle. That's what they need more than an edge rusher. Because I like Samo, okay, and Leonard Floyd is who he is, and you have Bosa. So you have three guys that you can rotate in, but you need a defensive tackle. You need somebody that can stop the run up the middle. Is that a DJ Jones? Is that a Shelby Harris? Can you get one of those two guys for the cheap on the interior? That's where you're needing it right now. You need the interior pressure. So that way Bosa and Leonard can get there, right? Or force that guy back up into the pocket instead of outside the pocket, right? You have to stuff. I mean, Kareem Hunt was running all over us, dude. 184 yards versus the Chiefs. That's ridiculous. That's not normal 49 football. Your defensive tackles need to get stronger. They need to get better. Again, could you get a DJ Jones or Shelby Harris? I think that's what they should be targeting. I'm not opposed to you and your defensive end option there too. I'm all for defense for sure.
Yeah,
you
you're
get
not wrong.
you get Gross Matos back in a couple weeks. That'll help, but they need to get a defensive tackle.
Yeah, DJ Jones. If the Broncos are willing to be sellers, I'm sure he wouldn't mind coming back home. So one last true or false before we go talk about the upcoming Cowboys game. True or false? The Super Bowl window is closed.
That's a loaded question. I don't know that it's a yes or no answer. I think they're young enough still at quarterback, and I think Brock's a decent player. I think you have enough talent at wide receiver. You still have George Kittle, who's kind of getting better as he gets older, which is kind of weird, right? But defensively is kind of where I'm concerned. You have the stuff on offense. You have Kyle, and the defense is the shaky thing. Are they transitioning from more an offensive team to a defensive? I'm sorry, from a defensive team to an offensive team. I think the window is closing. I don't think it's closed. I think it's closing. You need to replenish this roster, and you need to figure out who's going to be here in the future. And you really need to figure out if Brock Purdy is going to be your guy. I think that's a lot of why we're doing so much drop back passing right now as well. Like I get it, CMC's gone. You're still running the ball fairly well. Jordan Mason's still second in the league in rush yards. Like you're still running the ball fairly decently. You got to figure out if Brock is your guy. If he's your guy, then your window is gonna, if you're looking at your windows in your house, it's halfway up. Like that's where we are. It's halfway closed, halfway up, halfway open. I think that's kind of where we are until we figure out the rest of these personnel decisions. I don't think it's closed, and I don't think it's all the way open. So I think it's closing, where they can reprop that window back up with a couple really good personnel decisions in this offseason.
Yeah, I'll double down on false as well. This Cowboys game is important because going into the bye week with some momentum and some clarity would be really, really, really valuable for this team. Even if they lost, there's still a chance they get into the playoffs just because this division, after all of this turmoil, after a season in which it feels like everything in the world has gone wrong, we're only one game behind first place. This is not a division that has completely gone down the trail past us. We are not collecting anyone's dust. We are still really neck and neck anyone's division right now. Obviously, it would be nice if we had gotten some more NFC West victories. But with that being said, as far as our records are concerned, there's still a chance here that we certainly get in the playoffs at minimum as a wild card team. Now, as far as it being a Super Bowl team, without Ayuk, it's scary to think about. I think we still have not seen at all Ricky Pearsall's best football. I mean, effectively, we were out there watching him in a preseason game one, is what it really was. Again, the serial optimist in me says, well, maybe this pick that was so controversial at the time of why did we get this wide receiver at this pick when we could have had any of these other players, maybe it all circles back into this serendipitous moment where he starts to get confident, he starts to rip, we're one wide receiver down, we're another first-round wide receiver up, and all of a sudden this gap that we had may not be completely filled, but it's not as vast of a cavern as we thought. And so that is sort of my hope. Honestly, truly, I think the two biggest pieces as to whether or not we, at minimum, if the Super Bowl window is this year, is Christian McCaffrey and Dre Greenlaw. And almost more so Christian McCaffrey because we have been so anemic in the red zone. We have been incapable of getting within the 20 and being threatening. And that drives me nuts because with Christian McCaffrey, it felt so easy. And maybe we were spoiled because we had one of the most dynamic running backs in the game being able to just deliver these touchdowns with ease. Now, we obviously have a fantastic running back in there right now. And truly, I think I'm looking forward to that being a 1-2 punch for everybody's sake, including Christian McCaffrey's. But when it comes to the red zone, there are too many games in which we could have been on the other side of a better record if we had a better red zone presence. And honestly, that falls squarely at the feet of a player like Christian McCaffrey. Now, Dre Greenlaw, I don't want to put him too far behind in second place because he is obviously a tremendous player. If he can ramp up quick enough, if he can bring the same tenacity that he always does, that might be a very important spark that we've needed on our defense. Because quite frankly, it feels like Fred Warner has been trying to rally everyone all by himself. And unfortunately, no matter how much he gives off defensive player of the year energy, he can't be the entire personality of that defense. And I love Diamador Lenore, but I feel like every time I see him tweet, it's just kind of him in his own lane, as opposed to Fred Warner, where it feels like he's really trying to be like the campfire, trying to keep everyone hot.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're missing everyone needs their Robin, right? Dre Greenlaw is Fred Warner's Robin, right? I don't think they're equals by any means, but I think Dre is good enough to where, when you lose him, it's kind of like when the Niners lost Navarro Bowman, right? Patrick Willis was playing with Will Hoyt, and Will Hoyt, God bless him, was a good player, but he wasn't Navarro Bowman, right? You see the drop off. You bring in a guy like Devondre Campbell, who was probably your last choice because you wanted Kendricks, and he ended up going to Dallas, but the team may be revived, and once you get the spark back with McCaffrey and you get the spark back with Dre Greenlaw, if you get 6 games with Dre Greenlaw on defense on the back half of the schedule, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's Buffalo, Chicago, Rams, Miami, Detroit, Arizona. He's going to help you win at least 4 of those games, right? So you go down a stretch 4-2. Let's say you win the Green Bay. Let's say you lose to Green Bay, but you beat Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Dallas. Okay, cool. Now you're 11-6, and you're in the playoffs, and you're probably a division champ. And I think the NFC North is going to cannibalize itself. You might have a shot at the 2 seed, right? This is where losing to the Vikings matters. This is where losing to the Vikings matters. Everybody in my mentions earlier in the year,
you're not wrong.
Seeding matters. When you lose games like this to the Rams and the Cardinals and the Vikings in your conference, they matter. So, even then at the 2 seed, you still get 2 home playoff games, and then if you got to go to the MC title game, depending on who number 1 is, then you got to travel. But you still have a potential to have those home playoff games. Like it matters. So, but they just got to. Ultimately, I think again, I don't think this is much of a coaching issue more than a talent and personnel decision issue. I think I'm not a huge Sorensen fan. I don't know anything about this guy. Every time he's on the podium, he lacks energy. He lacks just presence in a room. Like, that's not a guy that I would rally around. Like, it's just, he's just a dude, right? He's just another guy. So we'll see how this goes with them, but I think they're going to be fine. I think a lot of us are just, panicking and not realizing it. And I think a lot of it is there's some homerism in there and some rose-colored glasses. But you really have to look at this team for what it is and how successful they have been and really, really break it down. Again, I'm going to reference the Warriors. Yep. They had this unreal run. These things come to an end. The Houston Astros had this unreal run. It comes to an end because you have to replenish. You have to get younger. You're going to lose talent through the money, injuries, aging. This is where we are right now. The NFL is not for long. And to have the fact that we've had George Kittle now for 8 years, you've had Fred Warner going on year 7, or he's in year 7, excuse me. Trent Williams in year 15. Like, what are we talking about? Like, this is an older team that needs to get younger, but they have this draft class. I will give Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch that this draft class has been outstanding thus far. You got Dominic Pooney in there. I like Ronaldo Green. Mustafa's a fucking missile. And then if Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing can do anything for this team, they are set up for success going forward. But they have to maximize this next draft, and they need to get these guys valuable reps now and even playoff experience, because that's going to go a long way, because they're set up on the timeline of Brock Purdy and Brock Purdy's contract extension, which is probably coming. So cool. If you got Pearsall and Cowing playing very well at the end of this year, going into the end of the year, and then you extend Brock Purdy, cool. Now their timelines are aligned. And now you're off to the races. That's what you need to do here. They need to do that.
Yep. And there's another team right now. There's another team that's also going through its own identity crisis. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dallas Cowboys and the 49ers are facing off. And the Dallas Cowboys, it almost feels like this game is so unique because I cannot think of another team that we are more of a mirror image of at this moment. As far as two teams that their fan bases thought they would be better. Two teams in which they know that big change could be coming. Two teams that are effectively in a similar situation with respect to their record and how that record reflects within their own division. I personally can't think of another team that, obviously they're not the same team, but I can't think of another team that is playing beneath their expectations, is dealing with some, injury issues, and is and they both now have this opportunity to face each other for what would probably, I would imagine, be a very, very important dogfight, because both of these teams are fighting to achieve something that they know is crucially important right now, which is to get a gasp of oxygen before they feel like they're going to be suffocated by their fan base. And the Niners, I believe the Cowboys just had their bye week, correct?
Yeah.
And the Niners are right about to be in one. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see, are the Cowboys going to come out hot? Are the Niners going to come out swinging to make sure they go into the bye week with some momentum? You're back in Texas now. I want to get your perspective once again, right in the thick of it. I want to know what your perspective is of this upcoming matchup, what we're looking for, and how significant this is for both teams.
I think the outcome of this game, I think the Niners win this game. I don't see a situation where the Niners lose this game unless they make an abundance of mistakes. The Dallas Cowboys are soft. Let's just call it what it is. They're soft all the way around. They're small on the defensive line. Their offensive line gets pushed around except for Zach Martin. Dak Prescott, the minute you give him any pressure, he is shambles. CeeDee Lamb and Dak are not on the same page a lot of the time. And Zeke Elliott is fat and slow. He's washed. And your other running back is Dowdle. Like they did. I live in Texas. The Cowboys did nothing to inspire any hope in their fan base. I know a bunch of Cowboys fans who talk a lot of shit all year round. They've been quiet since January. They do not have any sense of where this team is going. After that Detroit loss, I think they've been just completely demoralized. And for them, beating us would be their Super Bowl right now, because we've beaten them the last 3 years, right? The playoffs, the last two playoffs, and then, of course, when they came to Levi Stadium last year, the 42-10 loss. Like, Dak Prescott said it last year before the game. He said the Niners are the standard. We're their standard. They're looking up to us, right? Now, we're not playing our best football, but if this is a game for the Niners to get right, this is the get-right game. This is the game where you can run the ball. This is the game where you can expose some of those things. This is the game where you can probably get your young guys going. Pearsall, Cowing, get them going. This is the game where you can probably build some confidence in Aaron Banks, build some confidence in Colton McKivitz, to where they're just continuously. Now you build momentum going into the bye week. You get healthy. Maybe you make a trade for a defensive tackle, and you're back and running, and you start getting your reinforcements back with McCaffrey and Greenlaw. But realistically, the Cowboys, there's nothing about the Cowboys that they do well. Literally nothing. They are, I was looking at the numbers, they're 26th in offense, 29th in defense, DVOA. The only thing they do well is special teams. That's the only thing we do terribly wrong, right? By comparison, the Niners are 8th in offense, 6th in defense, which is surprising, and then 31st in special teams. We know special teams is terrible for the Niners. But I don't see anything on the Cowboys that scares me too much. I like the way our cornerbacks are playing, and you really only have to worry about CeeDee Lamb. Jalen Tolbert, nice player. I've met him at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago. Nice player, but he's not anyone that's going to blow the top off the roof. What I worry about mostly here is our special teams unit making a mistake versus theirs. And I think we can get to Dak Prescott with Nick Bosa and Leonard Floyd. Nick Bosa is going to be facing a rookie out of Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton. If you guys have watched him, he struggled most of the year. And on the other side with Leonard Floyd, I don't see him having too much of an issue with the right tackle or right guard if they can utilize him and use his speed there. It's just – to me, this game, it'll probably be a close game, just like a stupid ball game, but the Niners should come out of this victorious. And a take that I think that's been going around down here, if they lose this game, and if the Cowboys lose this game, and in a way that's embarrassing like it was last year, I can expect Mike McCarthy to be fired on Monday.
Wow. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I already feel like this is a very important gut check year for Mike McCarthy. But hey, I'm not as confident. I think the Niners have demonstrated anything that can go wrong will go wrong on and off pattern, and we just lost a heartbreaker, which usually means that we win this one in a sense of confidence. But we are on our third kicker. We have lost one of our star wide receivers, and we have some question marks behind. Where folks are filling in. We have a quarterback coming off of his worst game perhaps that he's ever played in his career. And I don't know. I don't know if I feel as confident. I mean, you are obviously in the proximity of many, many, many Cowboys fans who normally would bask in the opportunity to shower you with trash talk about how their team is going to dominate, is going to annihilate. Sometimes those teams that you think are going to just be sitting ducks are the ones who are going to just knock the wind out of us. We have a porous special teams. We have a defense that sometimes does not inspire any confidence. We've had an offense that recently has not inspired much confidence. I think we can win. I think we should win. If I had to put money on it, I'd be terrified because I don't know if I have the level of confidence that I need to say that the Niners are going to beat the Cowboys. I will say it's nice that I believe we're playing them at home. I believe we're fully capable of beating this team. Really, I honestly think that it's all going to come down to how effective is our run game going to be, because that was such a strength throughout the first games that we've had with Jordan Mason, who's been such a darling right now as far as subbing in for CMC. 58 yards against the Chiefs, that's not going to cut it. So if we can get him to really dominate and make that defense look soft, then all of a sudden I feel more confident that Purdy will be able to find his targets, whether that be George Kittle or otherwise, who knows will be healthy by that game. And then maybe we can stack up enough points, maybe another 30 burger, and get into the bye week with a sense of confidence that maybe we can be buyers, as opposed to desperately reaching into the ATM hoping that our luck is going to turn around if we bring in a new player that makes us feel something. So I don't know. I think obviously the things I'm looking for, how are our wide receivers going to do? You alluded to that. I completely agree. Will Ricky Pearsall emerge? Will Jacob Cowing emerge? Who knows? At least Kyle Shanahan is capable of building a game plan around it, as opposed to having to tear his up in the middle of the Chiefs game. So we'll see. But I can say confidently that I am not as confident as you are.
I think the analytics shake out in the Niners' favor here. And don't get me wrong, the Niners could lose this game because they'll do something stupid. Brock Purdy will throw 2 interceptions in the worst scenario possible. Kyle says, all right, cool, look at these crazy numbers. We're just going to throw the ball 50 times. When really, I wrote all this stuff down. EPA per play allowed on rush defense for the Cowboys, 32nd. Success rate allowed, 30th. DVOA, 29. Adjusted line yards allowed, 30th. They are the bottom of the bottom rush defense. This is a Jordan Mason game. This is an Isaac Guerrero game. Mm-hmm. This is Matt Breida coming out of the practice squad type of game. This is a game you need to run the ball and run the ball 40 times. This is an old school throwback Kyle Shanahan, early Jimmy Garoppolo days, 30 rush attempts, 15 passes, get out of there to clean win, and you score 4 touchdowns because you ran the ball. Right? That is the game plan for this week. 30 rushes, 20 passes, whatever you want to do, however you want to shake it out. Like has to be a run-heavy game, and I think Dallas is going to try to set up for it because that's what they're going to try to do. But realistically, none of those guys on the Dallas Cowboy defense scare me. Micah Parsons, if he was healthy, he doesn't scare me, and I'm a Penn State fan. I don't believe that guy. I don't believe in that guy anymore. I don't. Period. Lawrence is going to be out. Brandon Cooks is out. Not Mozzie Smith is not good. They don't have anything on defense that is intimidating. Okay, cool. Don't throw to Treylon Diggs. Big whoop. Throw to the other side, right? Like your linebackers don't cover well. They're just not a good defense, even with Mike Zimmer. It makes no difference. They did nothing to improve this offseason. I really think this is a 10 to 14-point win for the Niners.
I got my fingers crossed, brother. I love your confidence. I love your
Yes,
confidence.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
And
yes,
Lord knows
sir.
I need it. You know what else I need is a little affirmations. I need some affirmations in my life. We got some people getting hurt. We got some things we got to say. Things we got to get off our chest, people we want to support and care for. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, who have never been, had the privilege of listening to or watching 49ers Public Access, this is affirmations. We do what no one on Twitter would ever dare to do, which is to give nice and encouraging words to our fellow players, our fellow humans, everything in between. And I will kick things off and say that you should go first and give us a nice affirmation.
So mine would go to Brandon Ayuk. ACL tear, MCL tear. He was playing good football. For those of you who don't want to believe it, before he got hurt, he was playing good football. For those of you who were expecting these 7 weeks of him playing to have over 100 yards, you weren't paying attention to Brandon Ayuk the last 3 seasons. That's not who he is. He is a 4 for 40 guy. He's a 4 for 60 guy and a touchdown. He's a 8 for 120 and no touchdown guy. That's who he is. He was playing the way he usually plays. He just had some big mistakes this year. If we remember correctly, Fred Warner brought it up a couple years ago after he got paid that he was pressing that he had the contract. With the money comes pressure. These guys are still human, regardless of what you think. Brandon Ayuk gets my affirmation. I think he was playing good football before he got hurt. I think he was having a hell of a game against the Chief. He doesn't throw the ball to himself. He doesn't. He can't do both. He's not Mr. Perfect. Remember that commercial with Mr. Perfect back in the day? Mm-hmm. Brandon Ayuk, that guy was playing good ball before everyone started to shit on him. He was playing fine. And guess what? If you're in a business and you're in a job and you have the opportunity to get a pay raise, you're going to fight for the most money you can get.
100%.
Right? So he fought for the most money he can get, and he got it. He unfortunately got hurt, but that's why these guys do this. They need to get paid before anything happens. So I'm all in on Brandon Ayuk going forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I'll double down on that. Hey, Brandon, Ayuk, please get better. Obviously not the way you drew it up. It fucking stinks, man. You got the new contract, and you know that unfortunately he's going to have people trolling him in his DMs about it, and it's going to be a long road ahead of him just rehabbing, getting back to work. All of the not fun shit that athletes who do this for a living do not want to have to do, to sit in a rehab room watching ESPN on the TV while you're doing some fucking exercise that you hate, seeing all of the other players either succeeding or thriving or maybe hurting and wishing and needing you. And there's nothing you can do. So Brandon Ayuk, man, sending love, dude. That shit is hard, but can't wait to have you back, obviously.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead and take one more.
Another one?
Yeah, one more.
Let's see here.
Another one? I usually do 3, but we're
really?
we're
I forgot. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan.
Ooh, good one.
Kyle Shanahan. You've gone to 2 Super Bowls in 5 years. You're a good coach, regardless of what everyone tells you, or regardless of what the media says. He's a good coach. The Niners would be stupid to try to replace him right now. The Niners would be really, really dumb. Kyle Shanahan would be hired in 3.5 seconds the minute he got fired. Like, let's calm down, okay? This team has been successful. What I've been saying the entire show, this is normal. You have to replenish your roster. They're doing that right now. They're going through the growing pains. This is not what they expected this year, but like every other coach in the league, no one can anticipate injuries, and just some of the stuff that come up so far with this year. Yes, could you have gotten these contracts done earlier so Brandon Ayuk could have been in camp and Trent Williams could have been in camp? Yeah, sure. But Kyle Shanahan is probably the third best coach in the 49ers history. Like, it is what it is, man. You're not going to find another coach right now that's going to do what he's done. You don't go backwards right now, especially with the roster that you have constructed, that he's constructed. You just don't go backwards. Kyle Shanahan has my full support going forward. He's not getting fired. You're stupid if you think about it. Really, really think about it. He's here for the long haul. I give him another 4 years.
4 more years. 4 more years.
It's like the Kamala Harris thing. We're not going back.
Yeah,
we're not going back.
Not going back. Totally agree. I mean, we already talked about it, but Kyle Shanahan, bro, get comfortable, dude. We don't want you going anywhere. I don't want you going anywhere. We don't want you going anywhere.
Cut your hair, though.
Maybe cut your hair. Get a nice shave. Or not a shave, but just trim. My last affirmation will go to Javi. Javi, thank you for hopping on, bro. First of all, it's funny this Kyle Shanahan conversation is coming up, and that you're leading the charge on this episode with me not too far behind you. Because one of my clearest memories is when I was constantly listening to the work that you were doing, that you had an interview with Joe Staley in which he said that his favorite coach, who he had Harbaugh and he had Shanahan, and he said his favorite coach was Shanahan, and just gushed about him. And I've never forgotten that interview. In fact, I use that interview as such a core memory because it tells me who the two coaches I romanticize the most about are Harbaugh and Shanahan, as far as my Niners experience is concerned. And I really have to say that interview and so much of the work that you've done was so formative to the years in which I really quadruple ramped up my enthusiasm to get more into the nitty gritty about the 49ers. And also I had the great pleasure of having you hook me up with the fattest deal on a new car, my friend. Drove all the way out to Texas to get it. So believe me when I say you're the fucking man. And I'm very grateful you came on.
Yes, sir.
No problem, bro.
Yes, sir.
My pleasure getting that deal done for you. I remember telling you, I said, go take this every car dealership out there, see what they say. And
Bro,
they laughed at you.
just
So
laugh at
anyone
me,
out
man.
there needs a deal, come see me.
Come see Javi. I'm not even
Hit my
playing.
DMs, I got you.
I'm not even playing. Especially on some hybrid action. That car that you wanted, it may not be on the lot. That shit might be going fast, but talk to Javi, man. He'll put his finger on it. He'll make sure it's there for you. Javi, anything else to say before I have you hop off and I sign everything out?
No, not really. I just think we just need to breathe as 49er fans. Just breathe. Take it easy. Okay. If CMC is healthy, that's a big boost to this roster. If Dre Greenlaw is healthy, that's a big boost to this roster. The communication will be back on offense and defense because CMC and Kyle Juszczyk communicate very well. You have a lot of things going on in the backfield. That's going to help. On defense, you add Greenlaw and Fred together, who are probably the best communicating linebackers in football. That's going to help your back end. Okay, it's going to help your front line guys. There's still some stuff that's going to come back in here. It's like acting like trades, right? You're getting 2 guys for the back half of the year. And yes, it looks tough. Dallas, Tampa Bay, Seattle, Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, LA, Miami, Detroit, Arizona. Realistically, this team can still come out of this 11-6. And if you come out of this 11-6 and you have a shot at the 3 seed or the 2 seed, all that bitching early in the year, was for nothing. Yes, it was rough losing these games, but take a chill pill, breathe. I think this team's going to make the playoffs. I don't know if they're going to make the Super Bowl, but they're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to win a home playoff game. And who knows? Do you trust Kyle Shanahan over Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff? I certainly do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Wise words, my friend. Wise words. Thank you for bringing us back to earth. I'm going to have you hop off, and I'm going to sign everyone out, but I really, really appreciate you hopping on, man. It's fun to bring this full circle. Literally just saw you on fucking Friday, and it's good to see you on Wednesday.
Yes, sir. All right, brother.
All right, bro. See ya.
Peace.
All right. That's it. We did it. We made it through a whole fucking show without a goddamn technical difficulty. Believe it. It happened. You know what? That's actually a good omen. Ladies and gentlemen, no technical difficulties. May that be the battle cry of this matchup. We need no technical difficulties. Yes, that means even receivers who have hardly played, no technical difficulties. Yes, that means new fucking field goal kicker, no technical difficulties. Special teams, defense, offense, Shanahan, no technical difficulties. Because then you can deliver a great show like this one. And maybe, just maybe, we will enter the bye week with some confidence, with some swag, and we will get fucking turned once we get our weapons back and we can get this party started.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Before I leave,
Yes, sir.
next episode will be a very special one. I'm going to have my friends from Sprint Right Option, Andrew Pasquini, Jason Aponte, on for a Halloween spooky episode. Do not miss it. I am out of here. I'm going to get some fucking dinner. And then I'm going to go outside and look at my beautiful brand new whip that I just got from Javi. So if you're looking for a new whip and you're willing to go out to Texas for a damn good deal, brother, hit him up. Trust me. All right, y'all. I'm out of here. If you just tuned in late, like Jen Sweeney did, please watch the whole thing. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to do all the things that would make me smile, because life is hard and smiling is a really nice addition to anyone's life. All right, everyone. I'm out of here. God bless. Fuck the Cowboys. Let's get it.